everybody, for coming out. I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that I'm carrying $10 trillion on my person in cash, and I'm available for mugging after the reading. The bad news is that they are 10 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. And that's where the story of intervention comes to the fore here. The Zimbabwe dollar starts in 1980, and by the early 2000s, Robert Mugabe is kind of running roughshod over his economy, and the Zimbabwe dollar starts to not do very well. The inflation rate 2004 is, modest, a couple 100%. By 2005 or so, it's a couple 1,000%, at which point Robert Mugabe decides anyone who raises prices will be arrested. And indeed, some of the executives in Zimbabwe's largest corporations were arrested for the unpardonable sin of raising prices. It goes on, the hyperinflation, until about 2008, when they could no longer even measure how much inflation there was with the Zimbabwe dollar, but the last measurement was about 6.2 sextillion% inflation. By 2009, the game was up, but nobody in Zimbabwe could tell Robert Mugabe he couldn't keep printing money, and none of the major countries in the East could decide that for them as well, because it's a sovereign country. Finally, it came down to the company in Munich, Germany, that would print the banknotes for Zimbabwe at the rate of about $430,000 a month. But they finally decided that getting paid in Zimbabwe dollars was not good enough, and they stopped sending them banknotes, and after that was the end of the Zimbabwe dollar. So, here is a piece called Ode to the Zimbabwe Dollar. The Rhodesian raised you as a boy until your zeal radicalized you as something hyper, a veteran of impulses and grabbing after all the hammers to hit mature markets. You inflated, no worries about adding another face on the wall in the hall of exponents. The redenominations marked you as one who rambles, who rages against the mistrust you inspire with your faulty price signal. Nobody understands what you mean. They plaster you on billboards and paper the walls in the bedroom. The ink prevents use in rolling cigarettes. Oh, you're too stiff to serve for hygienic purposes. You've been stripped of all utility except to function as the butt of a joke. Depicted on your front is the eternal stable force upholding Chiremba's balancing rocks. Oh, but beware of geological formations on currency, like the old man up the mountain on New Hampshire's state quarter that suddenly collapsed. Just as you did when the suppliers in Munich couldn't keep up and finally made good on their threat to stop. So bye-bye, big boy. 50 trillion of you eagerly marched off into the world and couldn't procure an egg. So the rand, the pound, and the dollar had to take over and clear the major arteries of trade. Oh, but I will miss you, my friend, if only for the reminder of how many can share the grand illusion of value in slips of paper. Oh, I believe, you believe, he, she, it believes. That's where this poem chimes in to see if the paper poems are written on might be used to usher in a new era of exchange. Oh, yes, yes, believe, my listeners, believe.